Well, blessed Monday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And I hope you've had a great 4th of July period. I know we are kind of nearing that midpoint of the summer, and it is important to encourage one another to keep your eyes on Jesus. We are in First Peter chapter 2, beginning with verse 13. It says, "For the Lord's sake, accept the authority of every human institution." Kind of an interesting one to come on the cusp of celebrating independence, where we as a country took off the human institution that had been governing us. And that institution was monarchy. Now, I've met people that have lived under monarchy, Christian people. And there were good, revivalistic, and Holy Spirit oriented people who have accepted monarchy. One of the most prominent would be John and Charles Wesley, the founders of the Methodist movement. They did not support the American Revolution, and no one could deny their holiness or their desire to serve God. But you see, when we declare independence in earthly things, it is not a declaring of independence in everything. The reason for our independence and the declaration there is because we had believed that the king had become a liability to doing the will of God. The king had become a liability to serving God. In fact, many Christians came to America because they were fleeing persecution under the circumstances that they had found themselves in England, and so other places too. Many had the story of their independence, of their religious conscience when they came here. But remember, this is not a declaration of complete independence. That would be blasphemous. That would be going back to the Garden of Eden. So when Paul talks about accept authority of every human institution, he is mainly talking about those times where those human institutions are working correctly. And under normal circumstances, that would be the case. But under extraordinary circumstances, just like in the Declaration of Independence, as Jefferson so eloquently put, sometimes we had to release ourselves from those earthly bonds in order for a higher loyalty, a higher connection. And so it says, whether the emperor as supreme or the governors as sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to praise those who do right. You see, under those circumstances, when justice is present, we are to respect those authorities. But when injustice happens, we need to prayerfully think about what it means to change things. Now, we are living in an era where people are really going against institutions. As a pastor in what was considered a mainline church, some jokingly call our churches the sideline because there's more popular churches that go against convention. They become auditoriums of excitement and making sure that we have released ourselves from those liturgies or those things that seem to hold us. And that's always okay if you are being led by the Spirit to do those things, to relinquish those bonds. But that should not be our number one orientation. It is to respect the institutions and the authorities that have been present, and only in extreme times to do that taking away of those things. On our Sunday morning message, Mark chapter 6, Jesus had to declare his independence from Nazareth, and also Paul had to declare his independence from the Corinthian people he feels called to correct in the truth. He is not a person who is just looking at circumstances. He even has a thorn in his flesh where he is challenged by his present need. But God gave him the message, my grace is sufficient. And for many of us who are living under uncertain times, we would probably say our ongoing message should be, my grace is sufficient. But in extraordinary times, we are to be ever vigilant to make sure that we have a higher purpose. So when we do take out the human institutions that maybe we have grown to not trust in anymore, we have a foundation to land on, and we better pray that that foundation is God. Even in our democracy where the people rule, we still have one accountability that we can never and dare not take away. It's written on our coins, which is kind of ironic, we might say. Does this country trust in money or does it trust in God? And that is the question we need to ask ourselves when we spend said money. Are we a people that are ruled by how much our bank account is or by how much we are loyal to God? And so those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, especially when we decide that the system we are under is not just and that God is calling us for a revolution. Things to pray about, even as Jesus struggled with his own loyalties and independence, especially on these days together. God bless you today. We trust that these are words of encouragement. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.